All right, welcome everyone to how to sell your services to your current clients and gain additional clients right now. This is a live webinar and we are very happy to have everyone here. And I can see people are still signing in. So I'll let everybody sign in. Okay, good. So let's talk about how this is going to work. So first of all, the webinar will last about 60 minutes. And as we go along, if you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A icon that you have there, the Q&A box. So what I would ask you to do right now is to locate the chat box. At the bottom of your screen, there is a ruler, and then there's a chat box and a Q&A box. So please locate the chat box and say something to us. Say hi, or you can introduce yourself. Yes, I can see people doing that. Thank you. All right, yes. Hello. All right. Hi, Tom. Hi, Gail. All right, good. Yes, so you're finding it. Yes, thank you, Christy. Hi. Good to see you. Great. Okay, good. So this is going to be an interactive webinar. So as we are asking you questions and as we are saying things and you want to comment, use the chat box in order to do that. And if you have a question, you can put it in the Q&A box. Those questions can be anonymous, so you can, or we can see your name, we can say your name or not, but feel free to do that. And as we go throughout the webinar, as appropriate, we're going to answer them, or we're going to wait until the end for answering those questions. At the end of the webinar, we will ask you for your feedback. We're going to send you a survey. We're actually going to put it in the chat box, and we'll ask you to please fill that survey so we know how you like the webinar and what else would you like to hear in the future. We're also offering a free consultation. Both Bob and myself are offering 30-minute free consultation, and in the survey you will have a checkbox that you can check if you'd like that consultation. So who are we? So my name is Adi, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Business Success Consulting Group. I'm a business consultant, and I specialize in process improvement and in implementing management systems and improving processes for businesses. And Bob?
Yes. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Bob Paskins. My company is simply Bob Paskins Enterprises. I know, very creative, right? Anyway, I am a sales strategist, sales coach, and sales consultant. And what I look to do is help drive success through sales.
Excellent. So why are we here? We are here to tell you what changed in the game of selling since we are now, as you all know, in COVID-19 times. So what changed in the game of selling and how can you win? Now, why us? So between Bob and myself, we've been doing it for a long time, and we probably helped over thousands of businesses, small, medium-sized businesses, improve and do better in terms of selling, in terms of efficiency. And we're bringing here our knowledge and our experience and what we've encountered during those times. Our objective today is that you walk out of this webinar with specific action items that you can take in order to improve your sales and in order to acquire more customers and engage your current ones. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Bob. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and over to you, Bob.
Great. And let me start sharing my screen for everyone right now. Here we go. Terrific. So here are the things that Adi and I are looking to cover today as far as the content. The first one is how to reach out to our clients right now, where they're at. The second is discovering the 3 groups of companies during COVID-19. And then the third part is how you can best support and sell to those types of clients and prospects at that time. At that point, my part will finish. I will turn this over back to Adi, who will focus on what processes you can use to assist your clients. Adi mentioned this, I'll kind of go with this as well, but the two of us will answer any questions either during this. So if you have a question in your mind, feel free to put it in the chat. I know Adi is monitoring it as I'm speaking. I will monitor it as she is speaking. So feel free to put that question in and we'll bring that up right away, because I find fresh questions are always the best questions for good answers. So with that, let me jump in to my part of this. Give you a quick 30-second background. I've done sales basically all of my life. You know, my parents tell me the story of when I was 3 years old, and for me constantly trying to sell them after dinner just to go down to the local Dairy Queen for ice cream, because man, we needed ice cream every single night. So it started at a young age with that, moved into that with a career with 22 years of working as a commercial insurance broker. That's everything from building 2 books of business from scratch all the way up until being able to have my own independent book. Then I was able to train others. Then I moved into management within the company. So I've seen sales from different aspects of the company. But the funny thing is, now as a consultant, I've taken on a new role with everything going on with COVID-19. And funny enough, what is that new role? It's middle school teacher. In fact, tomorrow morning from 8 to 12, guess what I'm doing? I'm teaching my 7th grader math and science as we're looking through that, because times have changed. And times haven't changed just with you, but they've changed with your clients as well. So people ask me the question of, are we still able to sell? And for me, I would always respond with a question back, meaning, what do you mean by selling? If you mean by, why don't you just go out and share everything great about your company or your products and services for another business so that you can sell to them in order to hit your sales quotas? I would say, no, you don't want to sell that way. But the truth is, if it's COVID-19 or not, you never want to sell that way, where you're putting your products or your objectives ahead of the customer. Instead, I have a definition of sales, and I'm going to give that to you. And my definition of sales is simply this, where you have 2 or more people collaborating on a problem and then deciding together to collectively take the next course of action towards the problem's resolution. That is selling. There's 3 very simple parts, where you first of all identify the need that needs to be, that you can fix. The second is you have a trusted relationship with somebody. And then the third is there is a direction or a momentum to solve that need. If you have that, that to me is what sales is. So then the question is, how can we actually help with companies, if it's sales or else, or through other aspects right now? The first thing I would say is you want to lead with empathy. There's a great quote by John Acuff, who's a writer and actually a friend of mine. And he says, empathy is caring about what others care about. Right now, that is the best thing that you can do to help service your clients and gain new ones. Care about what they care about. Another thing I would encourage you to do is ask the question, or should I say, don't ask the question, how are you? Instead, ask the question, how are things going with fill in the blank? If someone comes up to me right now and says, hey, Bob, how are you doing? It is such an overwhelming question right now, because again, I have my job here, but I'm also a middle school teacher, but I have 3 boys, but I have a wife. And in this time, that's an incredibly overwhelming question. But if you are able to say, how are things going with a specific item, you are going to get an answer to that specific item so you can help and direct them from that. So replace the how are you question with the how are things going with fill in the blank. The next thing I would say is, please keep your messages short but frequent. It's great to reach out to them and say, how can I help, or what can I do, or these are things that I might be able to do to help you out. Do that in very short segments. By that, if we're sending a voicemail, make it no longer than 30 seconds. Make it 30 seconds max. If it is a text, make it 100 words or less, which is no more than maybe 1 long paragraph or 2 shorter paragraphs. Do not send longer messages, because honestly, they may not be listened to, or they'll be instantly deleted. If you are caring about these companies, short, frequent messages is the way to go. So now we're going to kind of shift into 3 groups of companies that you might be able to have and how you might be able to reach out to sell or service with these types of companies. The first group of companies is what I call the hibernating companies. The hibernating companies are the type that say, wow, we're in the middle of COVID-19. I don't want to deal with this now. Let's wait 6 weeks, 2 months, 6 months. Whenever we come out of this, I will be ready to go. Give you a quick story. My financial advisor, funny enough, is in this category. I called him up when the stock market dropped about 25% a short while ago. I said, Andy, what's going on? He goes, well, I'm not really sure right now. I'm at home. I haven't shaved for 3 weeks. I got a long beard. I haven't really gone into the office. In fact, what I'm doing is I'm remodeling my kitchen. But don't worry, your money is safe. Call me back in about 6 months, and then we can reconnect at that time. Ideal hibernating company. Not focused on anything right now, focused on the future. Even though it was a little bit disturbing, I would say that that was the answer from my financial consultant. That's an example of a hibernating company. Second one is a deteriorated company. A deteriorated company is kind of like the sandcastle that you're seeing right there that's being washed by the waves. These are companies that might be struggling. They still have good framework, so they're going to survive, but all they're trying to do is take care of the onslaught of waves. A restaurant might fit into that category. That's still open for business. You can't have people come in and be seated at the restaurant. So you're finding different ways, either through takeout or delivery, to satisfy their customers. Just trying to survive and keep the doors open. Then the third one, they're the escalating companies right now. What they're doing is they're seeing this current environment and they're actually thriving in the midst of it. You take a look at Zoom, for example, whose stock is up 50% over the last 2 months. They weren't anticipating this, but now that we're in the middle of COVID-19, they're really doing quite well. So those are the 3 groups of companies. Your goal is to figure out the category that each one of your clients and key prospects lands. And then once you're able to figure that out, you can discover the best way to sell or to service to them. So we're going to transition to the 3 types of companies and how to best sell or service to them. Again, first of all, we have the hibernating clients. What you need to know with the hibernating clients, you need to ask them the question of, when are you planning to come out of hibernation? Is it, again, it's 6 weeks? Is it 6 months? Is it 2 months? But determine from them when they think they're going to re-enter that marketplace. Very important that you would ask that question. Then, if you're able to figure that out, you can backdate from that time and create a timeline. I'll give you an example. We have a company that's going to install a railing in our home, an external railing for our son. So I called them up and said, great, let's work together on this. And they said, Bob, we're going to be closed until maybe October. And I said, great. What can we do to help you out so that we're ready to go in October? And they said, well, it'll take roughly 30 days for us to get everything ready to go so that we are ready on October 1st to re-enter the marketplace. Terrific. Obviously, what you do at that point is you set the time back to say September and you reach out to them. The whole key is finding when they're going to reopen, backdate from that time or backtrack from that time, and then create a strategy. So from there, in the example of our rail manufacturer, I said, great, why don't I reach out to you in the first part of September? And at this time, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, so we're all set for October 1st. How does that sound for you? And they said, yes, that is great. Please call us at this time and we will be ready to go. So that is our strategy that we were able to orchestrate with them to be able to set up a timeline so that they're ready to come out of hibernation. The key here is this. especially for hibernating clients, you want to make sure that when we are relieved from these restrictions and are ready to go, you have them prepared to launch forward. That's why we have the person there in the starter's block, where they are ready to jump out of the gate. They are ready when that gun goes off, they're in position to be able to charge ahead. Don't be like the track athlete who obviously, or who hears, uh-oh, the race is going to start, and they don't have the right uniform on, or they haven't stretched, or they haven't put on their spikes to get ready to go for the starter's block. Don't be that company, because once we are released from these restrictions, I can guarantee you that there will be a frenzy for that new business, and you want to be in that position to capture that new business. So that's how you can really help out hibernating clients. I'm going to shift here, though, a little bit, because there's one other thing that you might be able to do right now. And that is to look around and see if your key prospects, what is their current provider doing? Is their current provider hibernating and your key prospects need service? If so, you can gain ground while your prospect's while your prospect's current provider is asleep at the wheel. Back in 2008, I was able to really grow my business when we had that smaller recession, because other companies had chosen just to throw their hands up and walk away. And during that time, I was actually able to gain ground. You can gain ground too with selling and servicing your current clients, as well as reaching out to additional prospects if your competitor's vendor is asleep at the wheel. So that's the hibernating clients. Let's move on to the second category, the deteriorating clients. I'll start off by kind of saying a story that another friend of mine, Phil Jones, said, and this is what he said, is right now, if you have a client that's basically on survival, what you want to do is throw them a rope and not teach them swimming lessons. By that, let's just imagine that you and I are on a cruise together, and you're leaning over because you're seeing some dolphins, and you actually lean too far over and you fall into the water. Uh-oh, what should I do? Now, as someone who provides a service, the last thing that I should do is say, hey, you in the water, Adi, do you want my 6-course guide on how to learn how to swim? Because I have that for you right now.
I do. No, just kidding.
Yeah, that's not what you want. No. What you want to do is to have someone throw you a rope to pull you back onto the boat.
Absolutely.
And then once you have them back on the boat, then you might be able to sell them the 6-course guide to swimming lessons. So for these clients who are trying to survive right now, think of it as, what lifeline can I throw to them to help, instead of what services can I provide to help them out. The second thing that you
Bob, so there's a question about that. So the question is, so that rope you are sending them, is that like a paid service or is that a free service?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I would say at that point, if it's a free service, feel free to, or I would say don't hesitate to offer a free service to them.
Okay.
Because if you're able to save them, they're going to remember that. So down the line, when you do have to teach those swimming lessons, continuing with that analogy, they will remember that you are the ones who saved them by throwing the rope.
Fantastic. So thank you, Jim, for the question. And if anyone else have questions as we are going, just type them in and I'll interrupt you, Bob, just like I did right now with asking those questions.
No problem. No problem. Feel free to interrupt. Second thing you want to do with deteriorating clients, the best source of communication that I have found is reach out via text message. The reason for that is people might be overwhelmed with emails or voicemails, and they may not be able to respond. Text message, as long as you have their number and are able to freely communicate with them, is a great way to go. The reason I say that is these business owners might be up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's at that time where they're able to look at the phone and answer those texts. I've received a number of texts from clients or prospects between 2 or 4 in the morning during this time, because that's when they're up and they're thinking about their business. text message is a great way, as long as, and we mentioned this in the beginning, we keep it under 100 words. So short text messages are a great way to reach out to your clients. Next thing is, it is great just to, if you are currently servicing these clients, provide them with a peace of mind that you are taking care of that aspect of the business. What you can basically do is you can even send a text and say, hey, don't worry about this, the processes. I've got you covered. I'm taking care of this. You don't have to worry about this. Worry about other aspects of the business. If you're able to provide that peace of mind or that reassurance with your current customers, that goes a long way in helping them out. And they will remember that you were there for them and took care of something, so they could just worry about other aspects of the business. So yes, provide peace of mind with your products or services. Next, look for other offerings within their business that can provide additional revenue. I work with a car dealership. As you can imagine, buying cars is challenging in this time due to COVID-19. So what we have discussed is finding a way, instead of reaching out trying to get new customers, is reaching out to their current customers and say, hey, why don't you bring that car in? We can service that for you. We can take care of that. And sure enough, what they found is there's a great response for people who still need oil changes or new tires or checking their engine, where they normally might get a new car, but they have to service their old car. But what they found is once they're able to come in and get their car serviced, they open up the showroom as well, so that the people can come and still take a look at all of the new cars. And they have found by doing that, they are still able to sell these new cars. The reason for their success in this case is they look for other offerings which they can provide in their current business, which will help them with revenue. You might be able to find that too, where there are other avenues that you can find revenue for your clients. Look for those. Next one is discover innovative solutions. I use the hairstylist because my wife's hairstylist did an excellent job of that. Right now, what they did is what they call their first in line special, which means that once they're able to open their doors again, if you do a deposit right now, they will put you at the front of the line when it comes to getting your hair styled. I know a lot of women are really looking at that right now. My wife being one of them. She did this. She signed up actually for 2 appointments, which is great. So she's in great shape being first in line, but she also helped out her hairstylist by continuing to pay now and give revenue for them so they can continue to keep their doors open.
I think that's brilliant, Bob, because we did a webinar last week, and one of the examples were a hair salon in Colorado that opened. So somebody tried to get an appointment. She's booked until the end of July.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's actually it's a win-win situation to both sides.
Yes. And an innovative way. Yes. Great. The last thing here, it's very similar to the hibernating clients or hibernating vendors, is just like you want to know which one of your competitors is hibernating, you want to know which one of your competitors are also deteriorating. If one of your competitors is dealing with personnel or keeping the lights open or making payroll, and you know that, it could be a good opportunity to go after their clients who are being underserved. I would say this is one of the modules that I do is you need to know your competition and know them well enough to know where their strengths and their weaknesses are. If you find right now that one of your competitors is deteriorating and are doing all they can just to keep their doors open, they probably are not servicing the clients to the level of service that your clients or those clients need, which creates an opportunity for you to again expand ground in this. So those are the deteriorating clients. Last one here are the escalating clients. So the first thing you want to do, honestly, is thank them for your business. This is very important that you reach out to them and let them know that you are very grateful to be in partnership with them. I say that because, yes, it is an act of good faith, but also it keeps the other wolves or competitors at bay. If they continue to hear from you and they know that you appreciate the business and what they are doing or what you are doing for them. So please thank them for the business. The second thing you might want to do is make the buying process simple and efficient. If you have an escalating client right now and they have to have a particular service or a particular item, and they're trying to figure out which way to go, I will quote Donald Miller on this, who is an author that I really admire. He says, make it as simple for them as possible. The simplest solution always wins. That's a direct quote from Donald Miller there. So is there a way that you can make your proposals or way to do business as simple as possible? I work with an advertising company, and what they have created is a one sheet, which is an online fillable sheet where, does the prospect or company want this service? Box 1, 2, 3 to check. Check the box. Great. Then based upon that, you just sign at the bottom. It's all auto-fillable. It is one page. They have had tremendous results with that because their competitors are putting books of pages together, 15, 30-page booklets advertising everything about what their service is in their proposal. Who's going to have time to read that? My client has been able to succeed because it's one page. Yes, here's the proposal if you want, but if you want to sign up right now, fill out this, check these 2 boxes, online sign, send it back, and we're in business. Make the buying process simple and efficient. Next thing for escalating clients is trying to consolidate all of their outside contracts. I have a company right there, which is a back office specialty company. They're doing very well because they're able to do HR services and payroll services and workers' compensation services. Their pitch is simply this: do you have time to reach out and talk to 4 different vendors, or can you just talk to us? We can do all of these things and simplify, consolidate the contact that you're going to reach out to. If there is a way to be able to do that for escalating clients, to simplify the business on one side, but also to consolidate the number of contacts on the other side, you are going to do well right now. Because those escalating clients don't have time to figure out who's my vendor for this or who's my vendor for this. If you can be that one sole vendor, it puts you in a great position with those escalating clients. The next one is, let's see if we can take this altered reality that we have in COVID-19 and make it our actual reality going forward. I'm working with a company right now, and what they do is audits, online audits. It was just a side business that they were going to start, but it's grown into this larger business because you can't meet in person. So all of the audit process is being done online. What he has found is actually these business owners really prefer it that way. They don't want someone to come in, sit in a conference room for 3 hours to do a whole audit and then to get back to them. They'll just send this information to him online. He's able to do it remotely and get the same information back. If they need to connect, they can connect through an online platform to do it. But he said his business has exploded. But what he's also realized is business owners really don't want people to come in and do in-person audits. There's a transition that can happen there, where now we can do all of these audits at home instead of bringing them in. It's a way that he has been able to change and take this new altered reality and make it a new reality going forward. If you have the ability to do that with your clients or prospects, with your services or solutions, I would encourage you to do that. So with that, my portion is done. I wanted just to give you this piece of encouragement and say, you can do this. And we're here to help. Both Adi and I are here to help. And at the end, We're going to offer a 30-minute free consultation. We'll have our emails and other contact information up for that. So feel free to reach out. But other than that, my time is up. Adi, are there any questions, or should I turn it back to you?
Yeah, there is a question, and the question is, would you say referral are the most powerful form of growing business during COVID?
Yes, referrals, I would even say not even during COVID, but referrals are a dynamic way to grow your business. Basically, to keep this short, I would encourage you to get referrals. I say referrals, my line is referrals are the easiest and the most enjoyable way for you to grow your business. So yes, continue to reach out and use referrals. Now, what I would also want to say is understand the referral person that you're reaching out to right now. Where are they in this process? Because you want to reach out to them in the right way. If they are trying to survive and you're reaching out saying, hey, who are the 3 people that you can introduce me to? It may not be the right time to do that. So I would also put that caveat. Engage or understand where that referral partner might be in those 3 types of clients before you reach out to them. But yes, excellent question.
Great. And we have more questions following that, but let's go over now the process part, and then we answer all the questions. We have a few good questions that are coming in, and we are going to leave enough time for questions and answers at the end. So if you're thinking about any questions right now, but that was a very, very helpful content, Bob, please put it in the Q&A box, and we'll be happy to answer that.
Great.
So with that, yeah. So now I'm going to talk about the importance of systematization and the importance of having a process. And in this case, it will be a sales process. And why is it important for the business to have that? So let's talk about the importance, first of all, of systematization. So as you can see here, this is an example, an iceberg. So what Bob was mentioning was the top part, which is basically what you see, what's visible to the eye, which is the product and service that you are selling. And then behind the scenes, but that's basically more than 80% of the organization, you have the culture, you have the automation, and you have the systems and the processes and procedures, right? So you have the systems, processes, procedures, technology, culture, and then all goes to the tip of the iceberg, which will be the product or the service that you are selling. So why processes and procedures? Well, first of all, it will allow you to increase efficiency. And especially in times like this where your team might be working remotely, you have to make sure that they are very efficient and actually following the process, which will lead to increased profitability. The other part is that it will ensure results, because let's say Bob created this amazing sales process for you, but you have to make sure that it's being followed so you can actually see those results. The next part is the training. Let's say you're onboarding a new salesperson. You have to train them. You use the processes and procedures in order to train them. Then you have measurement. How do you know if the process actually works or doesn't work? So you will be able to actually, if you have a process that they follow, it will be basically comparing apples to apples, and you will be able to measure it much better. And then you have the continuity. So if you have, let's say your best salesperson is leaving the organization, or the best employee, you still have that continuity, and you're not losing all that knowledge. It also the continuity in terms of your business. So let's say you were doing something pre-COVID-19 and you were up here. Now you have to do it differently, but then when the curve goes back up, in terms of not the COVID curve, the business curve goes back up, you want to be able to continue to figure out what was successful that I was doing right here. Well, if you have the process, you will be able to identify. I'll give you an example. I was just meeting with a client that they, even before COVID, their sales plateaued. And that's where they're engaging our help in terms of helping them, Bob in terms of sales, myself in terms of writing the processes for the company, and their sales plateaued. Well, they found out that when we questioned them, one of the things that came up was that they dropped some of the most successful actions that they had. And part of it is like that question that somebody asked about referrals. They just dropped it and they stopped asking for it and they stopped utilizing it. Well, if they had a process, it would have been much easier to actually go through their processes and see which ones are still in place and which are not, and what was the change, right? Don't you agree, Bob?
Yeah, I would agree. You need to figure out what is working and what is not working. And
Correct.
obviously focus on what is working and try to eliminate what is not. Yes.
Good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example of what a process is. So I'm going to share my screen, a different screen. Here we go. So here's an example of processes and procedures that we wrote for a company. So here you have, those are the processes. So you have the sales process, recruitment process, etc. And let's take a look at the sales process. So the sales process comprise of the different aspects of sales. And that is Bob's expertise to actually identify what the process is, but we documented it. And then each one of those steps is a procedure by itself. So let's say we have qualified the lead. So obviously this is a very simplistic process for sake of example, but you have how you qualify a lead and you have like very specific steps that you do. And then if you use a platform that is automated, you can actually have your salespeople, in this case, they can actually click the start button. Let's say this is client Joe. You start, and then you make sure that they're actually filling out each one, the check button, they go step by step, and they don't forget anything. And then we make a decision, the lead is qualified. Let's say, yes, the lead is qualified, good. So now those are the options for the qualification, and you're done. And then you also have the ability to see that that particular procedure was followed. So I just wanted to give you an example so you can see when I'm talking about processes and procedures, what do we mean? So now I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'm going to go back to the presentation itself. And we have good. So now I have to share my screen because I think you can't see my screen yet. So here we go. The questions to ask is, where do I start? So where do I start in terms of like, where do you start in documenting your processes and procedures? So the question that I always like to ask when I'm being asked that question is, look at your organization, every activity in your company or organization, and ask yourself, what area, if you actually had documented processes and procedures, will get you the biggest return on investment? So again, it's what area, if you had well-documented processes and procedures, will get you the biggest return on investment. And if you are looking at documenting your sales department, then ask it for the sales department. What area, if you had well-documented processes and procedures, would you get the biggest return on investment? And return on investment is obviously money, but it doesn't have to be. It can be time. Time is extremely valuable. You can be using your time. Your time is a resource. And if you actually had well-documented processes and procedures that you can delegate to somebody else, you will be able to then spend that time to create other areas of profit. That is also worthwhile. And that is also a good answer to the question of getting a return on investment. Okay, so the next step is to process map. Just like I showed you, the sales process I showed you had like the different aspects, the different procedures, you know, between receiving the lead, qualifying the lead, doing the presentation, etc. All the steps that you do, those need to be identified. You need to map them. And it doesn't work just for sales. It's for any aspect of the organization. If you're dealing with sales, again, Bob is the expert in terms of that, and he can walk you through, and he can actually process map how to get from beginning to end, because he builds your sales process. The next step is to get it done, get the project done. So now you realize where you have to start. You process mapped it. Now you have to get done the project itself of documenting. And here's some advice for you, because as I said in the beginning, I would like you to walk out of here with specific action steps, action items that you can do in order to implement right away. So one of the things is utilize your team. You don't feel like you have to do it all yourselves. So let's say you have a successful sales process that is working for you, and you want to document those sales processes or sales procedures. Find out which one of your salespeople would you like to clone? Who's the best one? And then you have to identify what are they doing, or have them write what are they doing. So don't feel like it's all on your shoulders. Utilize your team in order to do this process documentation. And now, what is the difference between success and failure in documenting processes? And I think I've been talking too long. I'd love to hear from our participants here, from our audience. What do you think is the make break between a successful implementation of processes and procedures and unsuccessful? What makes it a success? Who can tell me? And I have some guesses. Let's see. See what I get. Yep, exactly. So it is definitely the implementation, making it ensure that people are actually using those processes and procedures. So thank you. That's the exact right answer. So you have to make sure that it is accessible. The key to success is to make it accessible. So when I showed you, it was written in a platform, in an online platform, and everybody can have, in the organization, can have a login, and they can actually access those particular processes and procedures. You have to make sure that you train your employees on those processes and procedures, and you have to make sure that it is part of the culture so it will be followed. So with that, that is my part of the presentation. And now what I'd like to do is to open it to any questions. So go ahead and type your questions in the question box, in the Q&A box. And in the meanwhile, I am going to put in the link to the survey that we would love for you to fill out and let us know how we did, and if you'd like any help from us, but it's mainly to give us feedback. And let's start with the questions. So you ready, Bob?
I am ready.
Good. So the first question is a follow-up on the question that you were talking about, referrals, and you said that you need to identify the different types of clients. So the question is, how can we handle the conversation with a deteriorating client that we want a referral from?
Sure. Deteriorating client, what I would look to do is, you obviously would like to get a referral from them, but you also have to figure out how you can help them as well. Is there something that you were able to do to help them out so that you can get that referral from them? That's what I would think in the back of your mind. What services do we have that might be able to help them in their current situation, what you might be able to offer? And then if you're able to add value to them, you then would be able to ask for a referral.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have another question, and the question is, how do you deal with the moral dilemma of selling against taking advantage of somebody? And taking advantage, they put it in quotation mark.
Sure. I think that goes back to realizing what your intention is for selling. Right. Again, if you're out trying to hit your sales quota and, in a sense, push a product on somebody else, that is not the right intention. And again, I would say, if we're in COVID-19 or if we're not in COVID-19, please do not sell that way. It actually puts salespeople in a very bad light to be kind of framed in that, where, you know, the surveys I've done, when people ask, what do you think of salespeople, you know, they'll kind of get pushy or slimy or someone who's after their own agenda. That's not how you want to be classified as a salesperson. What I would look to do, kind of with my definition, is to first of all make sure they have a need, and then partner with them on that need, and then have a direction that the two of you can go together. If you do those things, you won't come off as pushy or slimy.
Excellent. And I agree with you 100%. It's all about helping. If
Mm.
you're there helping your clients, your customers, your patients, then you are helping, and and you're there offering real help, and then it doesn't come across as something as taking advantage, because you're not. If you are there to be opportunistic or take advantage, then it comes across that way, and it definitely shows.
Great.
Good. Excellent.
There's a question for you here.
Oh, okay.
And it's basically simply this. Once you put the sales process into place, how long does it take for it to kind of become a part of the company?
Very good question. It really depends. It depends on the company, but I make sure that it happens right away, because it's not just writing the process, it's also training on the process, right? And making it part of the culture. So meaning you have to train the manager, the leadership team to use it. So let's say, for instance, you have an employee that is not, there is a process that is written and not following the process. How do you train the employee? How do you talk to the employee? What do you say? How do you get from them like their why of using the process? I'm very big about getting buy-in. You know, it's like anything in life is a sales process, right? Even selling your employees on using processes and procedures is a sales process. You have a prospect, you have something you want to sell, you have to convince them, but again, it's their intention. You want to help. It's not because any other intention. So you need to be able to identify what's stopping them from using the process and get their buy-in in order to do that. If the buy-in is if they are agreeing and they know that it's important, then it will be pretty fast getting it implemented.
Okay, great.
Good. And now I have a question for you, Bob. So you offer 30-minute free consultation.
Yes.
Tell our audience before we are done, what are they going to get as part of this 30-minute free consultation?
Sure. The 30-minute free consultation is really going to be all about them. I love starting with the question of, where do you see yourself now and where do you see yourself 2 years from now? That is a great spot to be able to begin to figure out where they want to go and how they want to get there. It also helps frame, in my opinion, the conversation of, is this more of a corporate sales strategy or is this more of a sales training? So I would offer both depending on where they need. If they are concerned that, again, they don't have proper buy-in or the right clientele, or they don't know what the value proposition is, which we learn in this phone conversation, that's a sales strategy.
Right.
Or if they are having troubles getting their sales staff to be able to be motivated so they can sell, that's a different conversation. That's sales training. So I don't push a product in our 30-minute consultation. It's all about what value can I add depending on where they could be stuck and what direction they want to go.
Excellent. That sounds great. And that's also when they have a 30-minute consultation with me. If you would like to schedule one, we can talk about anything in your business. You can ask me any questions that you would like. I've been doing those, especially since COVID-19, a lot of those, and I enjoyed it. I love talking to business owners. I have a lot of ideas because I talk to so many in terms of like, how can you pivot your business? How can you adapt it? And I'll ask you the question I'll help you figure out what areas of your business you should start with in terms of systematizing it, in terms of creating processes, in terms of improving your efficiency, etc. So it's whatever questions you would like to ask, I'll be happy to talk to you.
Adi, where do you see most businesses needing the help with processes? Is there a specific segment of their business that needs the most help with sales processes?
It's really depends on the type of business, because they also, those businesses, it depends where they are on the curve. If it's hibernating or are they excelling right now and accelerating. So it really depends. I've seen a lot of businesses because of the change of having to work from home. I've seen a lot of them needing to document the processes and procedures so the work from home is efficient. So not only do they need the processes and procedures in order to create better services or products so they're still efficient is also we need to document the processes of how to conduct work from home. And also lately, in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten several requests from existing clients and new clients on documenting the protocols and the procedures when opening, because it is not the same. You know, it's like, you know, like a dental office, for instance, they have to have very specific processes to follow in order for them to remain open. And most of all, not just for the sake of remaining open, for protecting themselves and protecting the patients, because that's the most important thing. Is like, as a business owner, you want to make sure that your staff are protected and that your clients or your customers are also protected and safe. So in order to do that, you have to have processes in place that you need to follow and make sure that everyone is following. So good, we got another question coming in. So thank you for continuing to ask the questions. Okay, so it's a small sample size as far as time, but in both of your opinions, what is the biggest mistake the sales team and companies are making during COVID? That's a good question.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you want to jump on this, great.
I think the biggest the biggest mistake, I don't know if it's the biggest, but one of the mistakes that I see is that people go silent. And that is the biggest it's a big mistake to do that, because it leaves a mystery whether you're there, are you open, what's happening with you, right? So being silent and saying nothing is not the helpful thing to do right now. So let's say if you feel like, okay, I don't want to go into a blitz right now of selling, of discounts, of promotion, fine, but promote something in terms of like, I'm here to help. So for instance, when this whole thing started, what I did is I opened a Zoom room with an hour saying, I'm answering any questions for free. Anybody that wants to ask me any questions. And 19 business owners showed up and asked me these wonderful questions. And then I realized this is what people need right now. So I've been doing those webinars about 2 to 3 times a week in collaboration with different professionals like Bob, because I realize that's what business need right now is help. But I'm out there, I'm communicating, I'm on social media, I'm saying, I'm here. I am here to answer any questions. I'm here to help. And that way it lets everyone know that I'm here, and I've been getting more business because of that, but not because I'm selling, but because I'm here to help. And those that can pay and need my help, they become clients. And those that cannot, at least I know that I help them and they're walking away with action items. So that's, in my opinion, is the biggest mistake, is not to communicate, not to be in touch with your customers or clients or patients. You know, when this whole started, I made tons of phone calls, myself and my team. I have a team of 5, and we might start making phone calls, you know, in terms of like, how are you doing? And as you said, not just in general, like, how are things going, but how's the business? You know, how are you doing with your employees? You know, do you need any help implementing the new protocols? Do you have a question? So the tip that you gave is very good in terms of, I know it's overwhelming. Well, how are things going? Because when people ask me, they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, how are my kids? How is this? How is that? How is that? It's like very specific, but it helps tremendously when we do that. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think, you know, even if we're able to help someone who isn't able to pay right now, they will remember that you were there for them at the time of need. So I like that point. For me, what I would say is, if you have this extra time because you're not selling, use it well. By that, I mean, do sales trainings.
Right.
Work on personal growth. Don't think that this is furloughed time, so I'm just going to Netflix and chill. Do not make that mistake. But continue, if you have a sales force, to invest in your sales force. We have a bunch of programs that we do sales trainings over Zooms, but we make it fun. One of the things that we did on one of them was we're able to break them down into individual types where they were able to do role playing. The team that won the role playing, the next time everyone met together for a sales meeting, the company had delivered coffee and bagels, or coffee and donuts, or pastries, I think it was. And so they're sitting there, those 3 winners are munching on their pastries and drinking their coffee because they won that sales role-playing challenge.
That's
you
nice.
Can continue to do that, but don't stop training. Don't stop personally developing during this time. Take
Beautiful.
the time that you have and use it well.
Beautiful. I love it. You know, to just add to that, another mistake that this is that not keeping a schedule, you know, just letting the days go by without actually having a structured day. In my opinion, that's also, in order to accomplish all that, in order to have the training, to do the training, to promote, to be out there, to have time to talk to the clients and help them, you also need to have a structure, and you also have to have balance or blend between work and life. So don't stay next to your computer all day long, but take a break, go outside. I mean, look at the beautiful walk that you have there outside your office, you know, so take the time to also take the breaks so you can actually continue to produce. But I think that's a topic for a whole different webinar, which I would love to do in terms of like how to best utilize your time during those during the current situation. And we might do that. So
That would be
good.
great.
So I think those are all the questions that we had. And I'd like to thank everyone. Both of us would like to thank everyone here that participated. You have on the screen. Am I sharing my screen or no? Do you see my screen?
We're just seeing you.
You're seeing me? Okay, so I was showing this the whole
Beautiful
time
sight.
and nobody saw that, but that's fine. Here is our address. Here is our email address. So if you would like to contact us, please do. And please fill out the survey that I put in the chat. And yeah, here I see the word. Thank you. So thank you all for participating. And we'll see you in our next webinar.
Great. Thank you, everybody.